Carnivore Vanlife cooking video. There's a few little tips and tricks in here for being a carnivore and for cooking in your van. So hopefully this is something that you guys will like to see, and I hope that you at least get entertained by it. This may not be the video for everybody because, well, people that eat more of a vegetarian style might not appreciate this, so you might not want to watch it. And then some people might think that it's gross. So just to give you guys fair warning, it's not for everybody, but I still hope that you would enjoy. All right. Thank you very much, and watch and enjoy.
Yummy. Here's some beef chuck eye. That's part of my breakfast for this morning. And a good tip for all you carnivores out there that might be needing to save some money right now. Chuck eye is almost like ribeye, but it's cheaper. Okay, so all of the beef that I eat usually is grass-fed and finished, and most of the time it's local. I do mix in some conventional beef every once in a while. This is a local steak, and this is some grass-fed hamburger from Oregon, because I just happened to have it. It was on sale, so I got some. And this is probably about 1.5 pounds of meat. And after I cook this, I will probably cook some eggs, probably about 4 to 6 eggs. And that's pretty much all I will eat for the whole day. And it seems like quite a lot, but for a carnivore, that's pretty much the average. We eat that much, if not more, depending on our activity level.
Now, I'm pretty sure that you're probably going, wow, 2 pounds of meat or 1.5 pounds of meat, that's a whole bunch of meat. And half a dozen eggs? Oh my gosh, how do you eat that much? Well, how do you guys eat as much as you eat? Have you weighed your food lately? If you're on a mixed diet, you probably eat way more than what you realize. Because just because you eat a tiny bit of meat doesn't mean you don't eat a whole bunch of other stuff. I've been known to wolf down like at least 1.5 pounds of salad at one time when I was a vegetarian. And I'm sure other people I know do the same thing. And people that are on a mixed diet, a lot of times they have to eat every couple hours because they get that blood sugar crash. Whereas I don't have to do that. I eat 1 time, maybe 2 times a day, and I'm good. And most of the time, especially in the summertime, because my appetite isn't that big, I try to make sure that I eat during the coolest part of the day, which is the morning. And that way I don't have to worry about feeling kind of sick to my stomach when I try to eat during the hot evening, like a lot of us experience, because I don't eat stuff like salad and watermelon and that kind of junk anymore. So yeah, it seems like a lot of food, and it is at one sitting, but it's really not when you think about it if you spread it over a 24-hour period.
Okay. As you can see, I'm simmering it in a little tiny bit of water and some butter. Now, I do that all the time, and it's okay to put water in your meat if you're going to consume the water too. I like to have it sort of like a broth, and like I've probably said before in previous videos like this, that it really helps with my electrolyte balance if I have some type of broth. I used to have a crock pot, and I would make bone broth and things all the time, which I highly recommend if you can do that. But in a van, you don't have that much fuel. You don't have that luxury of cooking stuff for a very long time. And a crock pot, well, it takes a lot of electricity to run one of those things, and it will heat up your van all day long, as opposed to frying up something in a frying pan that only lasts a few minutes. Okay, so I keep the lid on and I just let it simmer for a little while. And it usually comes out pretty good that way. I flip it one time and I hold it for a couple of seconds, and then I just switch the heat off and let it cook the rest of the way, because I don't like my meat too cooked. I think you cook out a lot of the nutrients that way, and it's just kind of rubbery and tough, and I don't want to eat it like that.
Well, now lately I've been experimenting with my diet, because I always do. I try to tweak it and make it that much better. My goal is not necessarily to look like a supermodel or anything, but to be as healthy and happy and feel as good as possible. And so far, so good. Being on the carnivore diet has actually helped a lot of my inflammation and my pain. That being said, though, I do things sometimes to experiment, and they kind of backfire. That's how I know that being a strict carnivore is good for me. And for you guys starting out, that's probably something that you need to know about. Whether you live in a van or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just talking about carnivore diet in general. You really need to do the whole elimination thing first for at least a month or two to see what you feel like, and then purposely try to reintroduce stuff, because you might find that you're okay with certain things and really bad on other things. And you might find over time, like I've been finding, that you have to be extremely strict with your carnivore diet. We're talking like, meat, salt, and water, and that's it. And that's pretty much how I am. I mean, I can do a little bit of dairy, like you saw some butter in my pan, but really, if it's anything other than butter, I'm finding out, or ghee, I'm finding out that it's not so good. My joints get sore, and sometimes I even have stomach problems, which is stuff that I've been trying to get away from my whole life.
That's cooking up so nice, you guys. It's looking really good. I like it.
Now you're probably wondering why I put it in a frying pan all the time. Well, it's partly because of where I camp. Right now I'm stealth camping in my small community, and there's really no place for me to barbecue stuff. Once I start doing the whole, boondocking thing for real, where I'm out on, national forest land, or, BLM land and all that kind of stuff, then I'm going to invest in probably at least a folding charcoal grill, and possibly, if I have the room, maybe a fold-up solar oven, so that in the summertime I don't have to heat up my van so much. Right now it's okay. I've got the doors open, I got a fan going, and I'm in the shade, so it's okay. Toward the ceiling here where my head's at, it's a little bit hot, but as soon as I turn the stove off, it should cool off pretty easily, especially if I get to keep my shade.
Okay, so I just turned it over, and as you can see, even on the side that was cooked, it's not too cooked. The object for me here is to not burn my food. A lot of times I do eat raw meat, but lately I've been enjoying having it cooked, so that's what I've been doing. Especially with hamburger. I mean, hamburgers, the texture raw is just not my favorite. So I do prefer hamburger at least seared on the outside. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do without making a big old grease fire in my van. I'm just trying to kind of do sort of like a sear without the giant, mess, if that makes any sense. So it's probably not going to be as nice and doesn't taste as good as a real sear, but at least it kind of, does what it's supposed to. Cooks it kind of sort of on the outside. So yeah, there's that. And so what I'm doing is I'm letting it sit here for a little tiny bit, right? Because I just flipped it over, and I'm going to put the lid back on. And I'll just wait a few seconds or whatever. And then I shut off my little stove. Now, what this does is it ensures that my meat's not going to overcook, and it also saves me some fuel. So that's a little tip for you guys for starting out in your nomad life too, is that fuel, it's not as easy to come by sometimes, especially during the heavy duty touristy season, or when we're having a world pandemic and stuff. So you really want to find a way to cook things and save your fuel.
Now there's also ways that you can save fuel other than just cooking your food less or not at all. There are ways to cook food in like thermoses and stuff, and I think Stanley, I want to say it's either Stanley or Coleman, one of the two, actually has what they call a camp crock. And it's basically a giant thermos that you put your partially cooked food into, and seal it up and let it cook the rest of the way while you go out hiking. And that's another way to save fuel, is to cook in a thermos or something like that. And it's kind of sort of like a crock pot. I would like to invest in one of those. It's just that they're, even at Walmart, they're pretty spendy. So right now it's not in the budget, but eventually I would like to be able to try out some thermos cooking. And the problem with me just cooking in a regular thermos is the fact that I cook such a large amount of meat that it's not going to fit in there. So I definitely would need one of those camp crocks. And that's something to think about if you've got a larger group that you're cooking for, or if you are like me and you want to cook up a lot at once for whatever reason. Then don't go with just a thermos, go with a camp crock.
Okay, as you can see, I've got my burger and my chuck eye and my little plate here, and I'm letting it rest. I'm setting it aside, and if it gets a little cold, that's okay. I don't really care. The object was to just kind of get the flavor and the texture that I wanted, so that's why I cooked it just a tiny bit. And as you can see, it's pretty dang rare. Some spots even still look raw, but by the time I'm ready to eat, it will have sat here enough and kind of sort of still cooked itself, at least on the bottom. So that's pretty good. And now I leave all of this water and greasy, nasty looking stuff. And sorry, my van is hardly ever level, so that's why you can see it going like this. But all of that good stuff in there, I'm leaving in there, and I'm going to cook my eggs in that. Okay, so here are my eggs. One of them, I broke the yolk, but that's okay. The way I'm going to cook them is sort of, I guess, like sunny side up. I'm just going to leave them like this. I've been doing this a lot lately, and I like it. I used to just scramble eggs, but this turns out pretty good, and it's easier to clean the pan after I'm done. So I like to do that. I tend to try to eat local eggs, but for the last year or so, I haven't been finding a good source of those. And also that most people don't feed their chickens, as free range as I would like around here, like my brother used to. But I do try, and this is a good tip for you guys if you want some really good clean eggs, is to get something like this, free range, and make sure it says pasture raised. That really helps, because the chickens are doing their natural thing and they're running free and they're eating bugs and all that good stuff. And as you can see, this is not my camera making these eggs this color. This is the color of the yolks. And I like it when the yolks are a darker color like that. There are some heirloom chickens that make yolks that color inherently, but these were just regular old brown eggs, and they've got this wonderful color like this. So to me, that tells me that the hens have been treated well, and they're very nutritious eggs, and they probably have a lot of good omega-3s and CLA and all that good stuff that you want in them. And you don't have to worry about the chickens being miserable because they've been out on pasture. So it's wonderful, But yeah, whenever possible, go to your local farmer and just meet them and see how they raise their chickens. And if you can't get satisfactory way of doing that, if you live in a sticks and bricks, then raise your own dang chickens. But man, don't stop eating eggs unless you can't help it, because they're really, really yummy. And again, I just cover my pot while the eggs are cooking. That helps to cook them all the way around some, and then I don't have to flip them over and risk breaking any more yolks. Doesn't always work, but it works most of the time. Hey guys, sorry the lighting's not so good in here, but I wanted you to see this. You see how the white of the eggs is starting to really turn white, kind of on the bottom? This is the time when I put the lid back on and shut it off, and just let it sit there and steam. And that's a good trick, so that A, you save fuel, and B, you don't overcook your eggs, hopefully. Sometimes it doesn't work though. So we're going to turn it off, and let's see, turn it off, and then cover it up, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, let's see how they're doing. Well, they've been in here for a while, and they're still kind of, sunny side up. They look almost cooked on the top, and that should be okay. I kind of like them more like this one that was broken and have the whites cooked on top, but this is fine too. It's just whatever your preference is, and you can just let them sit there for a very long time and steam. But I'm getting kind of hungry, and this video is making it take way too long for my breakfast, so I think I'm just gonna call this good and serve them up. Okay, you guys, here it is. It's steak, hamburger, and eggs. May look gross to some, but to me that looks really good. And after taking all this time making this video, I am really hungry and I just want to eat it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, it's just basically a typical breakfast for a carnivore. We eat different than everybody else, obviously, and it seems like we eat a lot, but we really don't. I probably won't eat anything else until tomorrow, and I may not even finish all of what I have on my plate. There's some times when I just can't eat it all.
So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this, got a few little ideas and cooking tips and tricks for living in a van. Hopefully, if I feel up to it and I think I have enough content for it, I might do another video on that, just, you know, how to save fuel and things like that. But until then, hope this helps you guys out, and we'll talk to you later. All right, have a great day. Bye.